I never thought I'd be that guy who finds out his wife has been cheating on him, especially not in such a brutal, gut-wrenching way. Sarah and I had been together for almost 10 years. We met in college, got married right after, and for a while everything seemed fine, normal, even good. I never doubted her, not really. Sure, she could be a bit bitchy, always rolling her eyes when I try to talk about my day, but I just thought that was her personality. I loved her, or at least I thought I did. Looking back now, there were subtle signs I ignored. She started going out more often without telling me where she was going, always with that weird smirk on her face when she returned. I'd ask her about it, and she'd brush me off, say she was just meeting her friends or running errands. I bought it because she had that way of lying with a smile, like she was playing a game and I was just too stupid or naive to see it. But the real warning sign was her phone. I noticed she kept it with her all the time, even sleeping with it. On the nightstand. Whenever I tried to look, she'd get defensive, brush my hand away, or change the subject. I guess I thought I knew her well enough to trust her, but deep down I felt uneasy. Still, I convinced myself I was paranoid, maybe insecure. Things got worse when she started coming home late more often, claiming work meetings or girls' nights. I was tired, busy with work, and honestly I didn't want to see the red flags. I loved her, and I wanted us to be okay. Then I found the evidence that shattered everything. It was a random Tuesday, and I was just scrolling through her email because I was bored, trying to see if maybe I could find some proof that my gut feelings were just paranoia. I never really checked her emails before. I thought I knew her too well. But there it was, an email from some guy named Jason, sent a few weeks ago talking about meeting her at a hotel. The subject line was, "Can't wait to see you tonight." My stomach sank. The email wasn't long, but it was enough. She was hiding something, and she had been doing it. For months, I was frozen in place, staring at the screen like I'd been punched in the face. My hands trembled. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She had been lying to me about everything. She met Jason at a hotel, probably more than once, and she was sleeping with him. The idea hit me like a freight train, months of her sneaking around, lying, betraying me, and I had no idea. It was like my whole life was a lie. I looked at her phone later that night, and her messages confirmed it. They'd been texting, flirting, making plans. She wasn't just cheating, she was actively hiding it from me. I couldn't breathe for a second. The room felt like it was closing in. I felt so stupid for not seeing it earlier, for missing the signs. I wanted to scream, cry, break something. But mostly I felt this horrible, sinking betrayal, like I'd been played for a fool. I didn't sleep that night, just lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I had discovered. How could she lie to me all this time? How could she be so callous? And more than that, I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine anymore. Not when I had the proof in my hands. But I didn't know what would come after that confrontation. I just knew I couldn't go on pretending I was okay with this. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. My mind was racing. Part of me still couldn't believe what I'd found. Another part, the cold, logical side, knew I had to face her. I couldn't keep living in this fog of denial anymore. I got up early, made myself a coffee, and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the phone I'd left on the counter. I kept thinking about how I was going to do this, what I was going to say, and more importantly, what I wanted to hear from her. Sarah was still asleep. She always did this, sleeping in on weekends, pretending she had no idea what was going on. I watched her for a few minutes, her chest rising and falling softly, her face relaxed. She looked innocent, but I knew better now. She had been lying to me every day, hiding that whole secret. Part of me felt sick, angry, betrayed, like I'd been played. The other part just felt numb. I was tired of feeling like this. Finally, I decided I couldn't put it off any longer. I took a breath, got up, and quietly went into the bedroom. She stirred as I sat on the bed next to her, still half asleep. I looked at her and felt this surge of rage and heartbreak all at once. I looked her right in the eyes and said, "We need to talk. Now." Her eyes fluttered open and she looked at me like I'd just woken her from a nap. That fake innocent smile she always put on. She sat up, stretching a little, and said, "What's wrong? Did you find something?" I didn't bother with beating around the bush. I pulled out my phone and showed her the email. "What is this, Sarah? Care to explain why you've been meeting some guy at a hotel for months, Because I found the proof. You've been lying to me." She blinked, her face suddenly pale, and then she started to lie. Oh, she was good at lying. "That's not what it looks like. You're jumping to conclusions. It's just a misunderstanding, I swear. Jason's just a friend and those emails are nothing. You're overreacting." I didn't buy it, not for a second. "A friend? You're sleeping with him, aren't you? You've been fucking him behind my back. How long has this been going on?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "God, you're so paranoid. It's not like that. We just met up a few times to talk about work stuff, that's all. You're making a big deal out of nothing." I felt my jaw tight. "Nothing? You've been sneaking around, meeting him at hotels, lying to my face. How dumb do you think I am? All these months you've been pretending to be the perfect wife while you're out fucking some guy I hardly even know." She suddenly burst into tears, but it felt fake, like she was just putting on a show. "You don't understand. I didn't mean for it to turn into this. It's just sex, I swear. It meant nothing. I was stressed and he was there and sex, that's all it was." I cut her off, voice rising. "You're telling me it's just sex, after all these months, all these lies? You've been cheating on me, Sarah. I trusted you and you betrayed me like I was nothing." Her face twisted with anger now. "You think I'm some kind of monster. I told you I was stressed. I told you I didn't want to fight. You never asked what I really felt. You just assumed I was perfect, that I was yours, and that's why I stayed. But you're blind if you think I'm just some obedient wife who's going to stay quiet about this." I felt a mix of rage and sadness. I wanted to scream at her, to tear her apart, but I just sat there, stunned. I couldn't believe she'd been lying to me all this time, making a fool out of me. I thought about how she always called me insecure for questioning her, how she'd lie so smoothly that it was like talking to a wall of steel. I realized I didn't even recognize my own wife anymore. That day, I knew everything was over. There was no way I could stay in that house, pretending everything was okay. I told her to pack her things and leave. She argued and cried more, saying I was overreacting, that it wasn't a big deal, that I was just jealous. But I knew better. This wasn't some petty fight. This was the end of a chapter I never wanted to close. I felt hollowed out, like the person I was had been erased. And as she gathered her things, I realized I'd have to rebuild from the ruins of this betrayal, even if it meant starting all over again. That evening I sat alone in what used to be our living room, the silence echoing louder than any words could. I kept replaying everything in my head, the lies, the sneaking around, her fake tears, her bullshit excuses. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life. It was like my entire world had just been ripped apart. I used to think I knew her, that I understood her better than anyone. Turns out I didn't know her at all. She was a stranger hiding behind that bitchy smile, lying about her feelings, lying about everything. I kept thinking about how she always called me insecure, how she told me I had trust issues, how she'd tell me I was just paranoid. I guess she liked to keep me off balance, make me doubt myself so I wouldn't see what she was really doing, and I fell for it every time. I was so damn blind. Now I see her for what she really was, a selfish, manipulative woman who used me as her personal punching bag and then cheated behind my back. That night I didn't even bother trying to sleep. My mind was racing too much. I kept grabbing my phone, scrolling through the messages, trying to piece everything together. I knew I had to do something more, something to make her regret what she'd done. I couldn't just let her walk out and pretend this was all just a mistake. No, I wanted her to feel the pain she'd caused me. I wanted her to understand how much she'd fucked up. In the days that followed, I started making plans. I didn't want to just divorce her and move on like everything was fine. I needed a way to hit back, to make her see how deeply she'd hurt me. I spent hours researching, watching how to expose infidelity, how to make her regret every minute she spent lying and cheating. I knew I wasn't just going to kick her out and forget about it. She deserved some payback, even if I was the one with the broken heart. I remembered she had this bitchy attitude, how she always thought she was smarter than everyone else. She'd probably think she'd gotten away with everything, that she was untouchable. I wanted to prove her wrong. I was angry, but I also felt this strange sense of clarity. I realized I had been giving her too much power for too long. I let her control me, let her make me doubt myself. That was going to change, so I started orchestrating my revenge. I didn't want her to know what I was doing at first. I began by gathering more evidence, screenshots of her flirty texts, hotel receipts, anything I could find. I wanted her to see when the time came that I'd been paying attention all along. I even hired a private investigator, just enough to confirm what I already suspected. She'd been meeting Jason more times than I could count, and they'd been doing stupid, reckless sex acts in hotel rooms. I needed her to feel exposed, vulnerable, and guilty. My plan was simple. I was going to catch her in the act, then confront her in front of everyone she cared about. I wanted her to see the damage she'd done to me, to us, and to herself. I wanted her to realize she'd lost everything: her marriage, her self-respect, maybe even her reputation. I didn't want to just walk away broken. I wanted to make her feel the sting of betrayal just like I had. It was a slow, calculated process, but I was determined. She'd see that I wasn't going to be a pushover anymore. In the meantime, I kept my cold exterior. I played it cool when she came around, pretending I was fine. But inside, it was a different story. Every time I saw her smirk or heard her lies, I felt the fire build inside me. I knew I had to be patient, that I couldn't rush this. Revenge wasn't about impulsivity, it was about precision. And when the moment came, I'd make sure she paid for every lie, every second she betrayed me. I'd make her regret ever crossing that line. The day I finally decided to act was the day I felt a strange mix of relief and cold determination. I'd spent weeks building my case, waiting for the right moment to strike. I had the hotel receipts, the private investigator's reports, the extensive trail of what she thought was secret. I knew her pattern now, how she'd meet Jason late at night, how they'd sneak off when I was at work or out with friends. It was sickening, really, how easily she'd lied, how confident she seemed that she'd gotten away with it all. I planned my move carefully. First, I set up a discreet way to catch her in the act. I told her I was going out for a few hours, but I stayed back, hidden in the shadows of the house with my phone recording. I knew I'd only get one shot at this, and I didn't want to mess it up. I'd seen her leave the house with her bag, acting casual, and I followed her in my car. She met Jason at a hotel downtown, just as the evidence showed. I parked across the street, watching through the window as they embraced, her hands in his hair, both of them lost in some reckless passion. It was a sickening sight. I felt my stomach turn, but I kept my composure. I was finally seeing her for who she really was, a woman who'd throw everything away for a few moments of sex with some guy she barely knew. I recorded everything, knowing I'd need it later. When they finally separated and she left with her coat wrapped tight around her, I got out of the car and walked inside. I confronted her right there in the hotel lobby. She looked surprised at first, then furious when I told her I'd been watching her, that I knew everything. Her face twisted with rage and defiance. "You're crazy," she spat. "You're stalking me now. You're just jealous because I don't want to be your punching bag anymore." She tried to lie, to spin it as if I was overreacting, but I had enough. I pulled out the footage on my phone, played it for her right there in front of everyone. Her face went white. She stammered, trying to deny it, but the truth was right there on the screen. Her lips pressed to Jason's, her hands on his chest, that reckless look in her eyes. Everyone in that lobby saw it, and I saw her crumble just a little. That was the moment I knew I'd won the first round. Not just because I'd caught her cheating, but because I'd taken control. She tried to call me names, call me paranoid, but I wasn't listening. I looked her in the eyes and told her to leave, to pack her things and never come back. That I'd had enough of her lies, her deceit, her manipulation. After that, things moved fast. I contacted a lawyer, started the divorce process, and made sure all her secrets were exposed. I wanted her to feel the humiliation she'd given me, to see what it was like to be caught, to be vulnerable in the same way she'd made me. I even sent the hotel footage to her family and friends, let them see what she was really about. I'd always been the quiet, trusting type, but now I realized she'd been playing me for a long time. It was a brutal lesson, but one I needed to learn. That night I sat alone in my apartment, exhausted but strangely relieved. I felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I didn't even realize I was carrying. I knew she was probably trying to spin some story, trying to save face, but I didn't care. I never wanted to see her again. All I could think about was how much I'd been blind, how I'd given her everything and she'd thrown it all away for some sex with Jason. I told myself I deserved better, that I'd be better off without her. Looking back now, I realize this was just the beginning. The pain doesn't go away overnight, but I know I'll get through it. I've started rebuilding my life piece by piece. And as much as it hurts to remember, I also know it's made me stronger. I learned a lot about trust, betrayal, and what I won't accept from someone I love. I tell anyone in my shoes, trust your instincts because sometimes the signs are there and ignoring them only makes it worse. Don't be afraid to confront the truth, no matter how ugly it gets. It's the only way to truly move on. After the confrontation and the immediate fallout, I thought I'd feel some sense of closure. I thought that once she left, I'd finally be able to breathe to start healing. But the truth is, the pain just shifted. It didn't disappear. I was angry, furious really that I'd been played so badly, that someone I loved and trusted had betrayed me so completely. Every time I saw her face in my mind, I felt this crushing disappointment. How could she lie to my face for so long? How could she pretend to be the perfect wife, the perfect partner, when all along she was just screwing someone else? I also realized just how much her betrayal had changed me. I used to be the guy who believed in loyalty and honesty. Now I find myself questioning everything, even the things I used to take for granted. I felt stupid for trusting her, stupid for not seeing it coming. But deep down, I knew that was just part of healing. You have to accept that some things just hurt and you can't change the past. You can only learn from it. In the weeks that followed, I threw myself into rebuilding. I got rid of everything that reminded me of her. Her clothes, her jewelry, the notes she left me. I changed my routines, cut ties with some mutual friends who still supported her, and focused on my work and my friends. I didn't want to be that guy who carried around bitterness forever, but I also knew I couldn't just pretend I was okay. Every day was a struggle, a mix of sadness and anger, and I had to learn how to sit with those feelings and let them pass. One thing I did realize is how much she underestimated me. I thought I was a pushover, someone who'd accept her lies because I loved her, but I was. I was stronger than I believed. I just needed time to see it. I also learned that sometimes people reveal their true character when they think no one's watching. She'd been so confident in hiding her affair, but I caught her. And that made me feel a strange sense of victory, like I'd uncovered her mask, and now I could finally see her for what she really was. Someone who values sex and thrill over loyalty and respect. Of course, I still have moments where I feel empty, where I wonder if I'll ever fully trust again. It's hard to rebuild a life when someone you loved so deeply turns out to be someone you barely recognize. But I also realize that I have no choice but to move forward. Staying stuck in the past or dwelling on what I lost doesn't do anyone any good. I need to focus on myself now, on healing, on figuring out what I want and deserve from life. And I've come to a conclusion that might sound cold, but it's honestly what helps me sleep at night. I deserve someone who actually respects me, who values honesty and loyalty. Someone who doesn't hide secrets and cheat behind my back. I don't regret what happened, not really. It taught me what I won't accept from a partner, and it forced me to stand up for myself. That's a lesson I'm going to carry with me for a long time. I'm not interested in revenge anymore. What I want now is peace, and I know I'll find it eventually. I just have to stay patient, keep moving forward, and trust that someday I'll find someone who truly deserves my trust. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. I used to think that love meant trusting blindly, that if someone said they loved you, that was enough. But now I see it's more about respect, honesty, and being willing to face the truth, even when it hurts. I was blindsided by her lies, but I refuse to let that define me. Instead, I see it as a harsh but necessary lesson about boundaries and self-respect. Getting through this has been the hardest thing I've ever done. It's not just about losing my wife, it's about losing the person I thought I knew. But in the process, I've rediscovered parts of myself that I'd buried, parts I thought were gone long ago. I've learned to stand up for myself, to listen to my instincts, and to trust that I can be alone and still be okay. I won't pretend it's easy. There are still nights when I lie awake, replaying everything, wondering if I could have done something differently. I've come to understand that some scars don't fade easily, but I also know that I'm stronger because of it. I've stopped blaming myself for her betrayal. I've accepted that she chose her path, and that was her decision. Mine now is to rebuild, to heal, and to move on with my life. To anyone out there going through something similar, I'd say this: trust your gut. Don't ignore the red flags just because you want to believe the best in someone. Be honest with yourself about what you can tolerate and what you can't. And most importantly, don't stay in a situation where you're being disrespected or betrayed, no matter how much you love that person. Because the truth is, you deserve better, something real, something honest, something that won't leave you shattered. Today, I'm choosing to look forward. I'm slowly piecing my life back together, one step at a time. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I won't be stupid enough to ignore the warning signs next time. I'll be better, stronger, and more cautious. And maybe, just maybe, I'll find happiness again with someone who truly values me. For now, I'll just keep going. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that life goes on, no matter how much it hurts. And one day, the pain will fade, replaced by something real. Something worth fighting for.